There we go. All right, there we go. Hoyenan, South Africa. Ek is hartful. Hartful. How's that? You guys with me? Are you with me? Who else is angry? Did you watch that cock show? Did you watch that cock show? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome from around the world, wherever you may find yourself. If it's in South Africa, Sawubona, South Africa, Hoyenan. How is everybody doing? I'm going to take calls. We're going to give people a chance to get in here and get their stuff in here, all right? Deborah says, Ek is ook hartful. Yes, I got you, folks. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome aboard. Those who've never been here before, just so you know, because I know a number of folks came over. Thank you, Ronaldo. Bye, donkey, Ronaldo. It was very kind of you to suggest my stream. I appreciate it. I was supposed to be on tonight with Ronaldo. We do a once-a-month show talking about events around the world, but mostly in Africa. And we've had to delay it a couple weeks because John Steenhuisen was on. Then he didn't show up because of events. And then we delayed it. He was on. Then we're going to do it. And now President Cyril Ramaphosa, or as I like to call him, Puxatawny Ramaphosa, tuned in from Pretoria, from the lovely mansion there in the north side of Pretoria against the mountainside, and broadcast nothing but absolute nonsense and garbage. We're going to get into that, folks. I'm going to talk about what Ramaphosa had to say to South Africa. Folks in Botswana, Dumela, Botswana, I know that you're also suffering under some capricious governance at the moment from President Masisi and what's going on in Botswana. So, folks, thanks for tuning in. Listen, if you're new to the channel, I'm going to do a quick description for everybody because there's some new folks. Then we're going to get into this. This is a Zoom session, so I'll be taking calls. But what I want to ask people on the Zoom call is I'll get you in here, be ready to talk because I have a feeling a lot of people want to call in. So usually I give people a lot of time on the call-in, but this time we're going to do a little bit faster. So we'll get started here, but let me just run through a couple things. All right, first off, you're watching Chris Wyatt Africa on the Indaba Africa channel. Yes, those of you from South Africa and Southern Africa know full well what Indaba means, and I chose that intentionally because of my keen interest in South Africa, Southern Africa, plus my experience living in the region and my long-time analytical work on Southern Africa. I'm a retired U.S. Army colonel with 36 and a half years of service. That's right, a full colonel, eagle, got the little eagle on my collar when I retired. And I have served all around the world, but I've lived and served in Africa in Tunisia, Botswana, Malawi, Niger, Mauritania, Uganda, Ethiopia. Is that all of them? There's 8 of them. I missed one. Malawi. I think I forgot Malawi. I've served all over the continent in different capacities, did HIV programs, tuberculosis, Ebola, malaria, also peacekeeping, counterterrorism, development, building schools and clinics, port facilities, arms purchases, training, democratic governance, respect for rule of law, human rights, all those things. Done that throughout my career. Plus, I also was an intelligence officer for the U.S. Army. And I worked at the National Security Agency, the Defense Intelligence Agency. I taught at U.S. Army War College, my last assignment as the Director of African Studies there. And I've also served around the world in various capacities, 3 tours in Europe, or 3 tours in Germany, 1 in Italy, and also all those places I mentioned in Africa. 36 years in uniform, and 23 of those I spent overseas. Peacekeeping, combat deployments, all of those things. Anyway, so I'm not boasting. I'm just sharing with you guys so you have an idea who the heck you're actually listening to. Who is this American? Yeah, ek is American. How do you say American in Afrikaans? I don't know that. Anyway, ek is net Afrikaans nie. Ek is net Afrikaans nie. I'm not Afrikaans. But anyway, so welcome aboard, ladies and gentlemen. You're listening to Chris Wyatt Africa. I thank you for tuning in. So we're going to talk about President Cyril Ramaphosa and his conversation tonight with the nation. It wasn't really conversations one way, and it was absolute nonsense. So I'm not going to be able to say hi to everybody like I usually do. So as I typically say for these streams, Americanza. Thank you, Gareth. Thank you so much. Americana. Which is it? Americana or Americanza? Anyway, so usually I say hello to everybody in the stream, but there's quite a few folks in the stream tonight. But the usual suspects is when I can't cover everybody. It's like we're watching, Kaiser Sose. We're looking for the usual suspects here. Anyway, so folks, so welcome aboard. And let me get started very quickly on the things that we heard from Puxatawny Ramaphosa. For those of you not familiar with the context of the United States, Puxatawny is the town here in Pennsylvania where every spring, in the wintertime, before spring comes, the groundhog pops up out of the ground, looks around, and if he goes back in his hole, that means that we've got 6 more weeks of winter, and or a longer winter. And if he stays above ground, then winter will end soon. So Puxatawny Ramaphosa has made an appearance. For those new to the channel, let me also share this with you. And those coming back, I haven't seen in a while. Welcome back. Let me share this. I wear a rugby jersey on all my broadcasts, and so this one here, there you go, USA Sevens jersey. Yep, and this is from the Vegas Sevens. You can see from the Las Vegas HSBC tournament there. That's just kind of my thing. I do that all the time. So let's see. Do we realize that we're all living in a communist state? Yeah, I think that's a good one, Bridget. That's a good question. Welcome. So if you're a subscriber, new or a pre-existing subscriber, thank you so much for being a subscriber. If you're a member of Chris Wyatt Africa, thanks so much for being a member. Really, really appreciate the member support, as all of them. Thank you. Jacques Joubert says, nice jersey. Thank you, Jacques. It's actually got kind of a ventilation on the side there. Let me see if I can stand up. You can see that a little bit real quick. There you go. So it's, it breathes. It's actually really nice. So you can actually play rugby in this jersey. It's not a sanctioned one. It's just one of the ones that they make available for the HSBC 7 series. Amy Justin LaRue, I'm new. I like your content so far. Well, welcome, Amy. What did you like? Did you like that ek is hartful? For those who don't know me, you'll know that my G pronunciation in Afrikaans is somewhat wanting. So we have a little bit of fun with that. Anyway, Notorious G, I know that you're excited. I saw that Hendo is lit. He's ready. He's fired up. All right, so let me go through the things that Ramaphosa had to say to South Africa. So he said, okay, with a straight face, President Cyril Ramaphosa said the following. Our actions saved us. I wrote verbatim quotes, ladies and gentlemen. As I watched this, I typed the words. Our actions saved us. Now, maybe I got one or two words wrong, so don't call me on it. But our actions saved us. Saved us what? It was supposed to be so that you could get beds ready. How many more critical ICU beds are available in South Africa? You only had 3,300. You had less ICU beds in the state of Texas. The state of Texas, with 19 million people, has 3 times as many ICU beds as the country of South Africa, with 58 million people. So how many more ICU beds did you prepare in the 3 months that South Africans have been suffering under this ridiculous lockdown? Oh, I'm sorry. Cyril didn't tell us. He didn't tell us how many more ICU beds. He didn't tell us what else the country has accomplished in those 3 months, other than destroying small and medium enterprises, the informal sector. And now he has the audacity to tell us that our experts told us 3 months ago the surge would come. Did they really? Because 3 months ago, I listened to you, Cyril. I listened to you. And what did you say 3 months ago, Cyril? You told us that the reason for the lockdown, the reason that people can't leave their homes for the most oppressive and controlling lockdown on the planet, bar none. You told us, Cyril, that the reason for that was so you could make hospital beds and ICU wards ready, so you could prepare for it. You didn't tell us, you never told us, because your experts predicted a surge that was coming 3 months ago. So why did you lie to us 3 months ago, Cyril? Or are you lying to us now? 265,000 confirmed cases of COVID-19 in South Africa, ladies and gentlemen, despite a lockdown. Half of all the cases on the entire continent of Africa. You know, there was a time that South Africa led the continent in something in electricity generation, when half the continent's electricity was produced in one country, under the National Party of all governance. Under the National Party, half of the electricity in the entire continent, a huge continent, half the electricity was produced in South Africa. Now you can't even turn on your lights because of load shedding. That's right, not rolling blackouts, load shedding. I'm sticking to the industry term, ladies and gentlemen. No euphemisms here. It is load shedding. When a power corporation dumps its customers because it's reaching max capacity, and rather than having a system collapse, a catastrophic system collapse, they shed part of the load. That is called load shedding. And that's what you have in South Africa, ladies and gentlemen. Load shedding. Congratulations, Cyril. Very well done. Load shedding in South Africa. All right. So 3 months ago, the surge was coming. They told you it was coming. Why didn't you tell everyone else? That's what I'm curious about. More importantly, why did you allow the draconian lockdown standards to be eased from level 5 to level 3 if you knew a surge was coming? I smell a rat. I smell cock. I smell BS from President Ramaphosa. If the National Coronavirus Command Council had any clue, if the government of South Africa had any clue that there was a coming surge, why did you ease the lockdown? Now, yes, many of us were screaming for easing the lockdown because some of us are rational thinkers, and we realize that you protect the vulnerable in a pandemic. You don't shut everybody down and destroy the economic lifeblood of a country and of a world. And that's what's happened. So if you knew, why did you lift it? No answer to that one, Cyril. Now, I love these words that Cyril said towards the end as he tried to wrap up his cockfest, his sack of, by the way, hashtag sack of cock. That's my line, ladies and gentlemen. I came up with that on a stream a while ago. So his hashtag sack of cock story that he gave us. All right, here we go. As we stood for each other and also stood by each other, let us firm the hand of solidarity. We've extended the hand to the vulnerable and desperate. Would that be the same hand that led to SAPS and the South African National Defense Force arresting South Africans during lockdown for taking food parcels to starving black South Africans? They arrested coloreds, whites, and black South Africans for violating curfew by giving desperate food aid because the ANC didn't take food packages to areas that didn't support the ANC, by and large. So is that what happened, ladies and gentlemen? Come on, tell me about it. All right, once again, it's hurtful. I've had enough of this. Tired of listening to this. And the same nonsense, the same sack of cock is going on right here in the United States. Capricious governance, lies, fairy tales, distortions. By the way, ladies and gentlemen, if you think I'm triggered, I'm not even remotely triggered. This is not even remotely triggered. I can go so much further. When it comes to direct loss of life that someone has control over, then you'll see me. You see me in combat when people aren't following instructions. It's a little bit different level. Take it up a notch. Anyway, so I just want folks now, not to miss a crisis, let it go to waste. President Ramaphosa obliquely called for the National Health Initiative, the NHI. Once again, that's right. He's trying to nationalize healthcare, bringing that up at this time. So what do we got from this? We got from this a curfew. Now there's a curfew. And when is a curfew? At night. Why? Is this because they don't have enough resources to keep the police and the military out to control movement at night? Is it because most people are moving at night and that makes them more susceptible? No, it's to control people. It's to keep people from going to restaurants and to keep people from gathering in clubs and things like that, which they already can't do. So why the curfew? Except to criminalize lawful behavior. And that's what's going to happen, ladies and gentlemen. And a 30-day extension. Well, congratulations, South Africa. Welcome to level 6. Curfew, 30-day extension. Wonderful, wonderful. And that's what we got out of Cyril Ramaphosa tonight. Let me see if I can catch a few things in the chat before I try to take some calls. Okay. Sack of cock. Amy, not cock. Yes, I pronounce phonetically, which Afrikaans doesn't do. Ranger Jake's got no bloody idea what they're doing. Absolutely true. They are absolutely lost. People are smuggling cigarettes and alcohol at night, and it's only going to get worse, folks. Anne-Marie Jenkins says, stay in Kempton Park, see the power and light bills go up 30% this month. Wow, how they expect you to survive? Well, they don't expect you to survive, Anne-Marie. They do not expect you to survive. That's the whole point of this, is it not? And when I say expect you, I'm talking about South Africans, not Afrikaners, not Boers, not coloreds, not Indians, not black South Africans. I'm talking about South Africans. The ANC clearly has no clue what they're doing, or their intent is to destroy everything and rebuild it. But that makes no sense. To me, they just seem incompetent. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I've got a lot of things to show here, but I'm going to go ahead and get the link for the call in case anybody wants to call in, because I have a feeling there's some people that are ready to call in. Okay, you should need a password to use this, but let me go ahead and stick it in there. So this is the Zoom. All right. If you call into the Zoom, I will get you one by one. Please be patient. I'm going to do one person at a time. Not a big fest with everybody in there because we're all just going to go boom. We're going to get really upset. So there it is. That's the link right there. If you have Zoom, go ahead and call in on that, and I'll try to get folks in. Now, I've got some really interesting YouTube clips to show you guys for today's stream. Thank you so much for tuning in. Let me get back here. I'm moving windows around so I can make sure I can see. I want to make sure that I've got the participant windows set up there. Good. Okay, great. Now, what I want to do is let me get back to the browser over here. I want to play a couple things for you. Before we take the first call, I'd like to show you a couple things in YouTube. Or not YouTube, excuse me, in Twitter that I came across. Here we go. So we're going to open up the browser here. Where's my browser? There it is. There it is. Okay, now I got to hide myself because it's still staying on top. Right, so Charlie Kirk, who's a famous conservative here in the United States, has pointed out that New York City is asking for $7.4 billion in bailout funds after they just took $1 billion from the police. You got to love that. You got to love that. So they took $1 billion from the police, so they should ostensibly have an extra $1 billion. Yet they want $7.4 billion in bailout funds. You know what I'd say? Tsek, New York. Futsek. Take off. Ladies and gentlemen, in case you haven't been following here in the United States, religion is under attack yet again. Catholic churches in at least 7 states have been vandalized or burned to the ground recently. In Florida yesterday, mass attendees were in church when it was lit on fire. No reporting of this in the mainstream media, as we see people of faith being attacked and people trying to burn their churches down. Apparently, the only time that a church being burned down matters is when it's a South Carolina church. 7 states Catholic churches have been under assault. Why are we not seeing politicians condemn this across the world? Now, Ernst Rutz, I saw him saying that he would not be watching the president's stream tonight in South Africa because he doesn't have electricity. Well, thank you, Escom. And I thought I'd share this with you guys very quickly. Come on. It's getting ahead of me there. Sorry. I want to get this up so you can see this. This is from Art Takes Back. He's a black American who reports hypocrisy. So here we go.
Fuck off, bitch! You're moving now! You turn around! God damn it! I'm disabled! I'm disabled! I can't walk! You get out of here!
has a health condition. Please.
I hope someone kills your whole fucking family.
That wasn't me, homie.
I hope they kill you too.
I didn't say that.
I hope someone burns down your whole precinct with all y'all inside.
Yeah.
Can't wait to see it. Can't wait to see it.
Yeah, you're right, you're right. No, you're right, you're right.
This area of downtown is still closed due to criminal activity.
Fuck off, bitch.
So there you go, folks. I want to show you that one very quickly here, so you could see that. That's from Art Taking Back, at Art Valley 818. You should check him out. He's a really interesting guy. Does a great job with news that a lot of people don't find, videos from around the United States, also from around the world. He's the one where he showed that video, that previous one where the two folks in South Africa were standing there. A clown jumps out of a car and tries to shoot them, and they have arms, and they fire back at him. He runs down the road. So Art Taking Back at Art Valley 818. I'll put that link in there in case you want to check it out. If you want to go check out Art's stream, he does some really good work. I'm not a huge Twitter follower, but I will say that Art does an amazing job. So let me get that back here and put that in there very quickly for folks. Yep. Notice that lady, that lovely voice that she has, she hopes that all your family you die a death. And no, she's got a scarf, but it's not covering her face. So you got to love this hypocrisy. Of course, the folks like that are not responsible for the spread of the virus here in the United States. No. And I've got a little clip to show you. Let me see if anybody's called in yet. Because there might be some folks waiting. No, nobody's called in yet. So let me show you very quickly another stream, which is along those lines, which is, of course, Mayor de Blasio there in New York. So let me get to that very quickly. I've got that somewhere here. Where's it at? That's not it. Did I lose it? Oh, no. It's just from Dinesh D'Souza. So, folks, be patient with me. This one goes for a little bit, and this is a really good stream. So I want to show you this one. I've just got to get it up.
It means things like...
There we go. Okay, so this is Dinesh D'Souza puts this out. This was now Wolf Blitzer called Mayor de Blasio out and asked him about the difference between people attending church ceremonies, people attending picnics and social gatherings, fairs and events like that. And he said, no, you can't do that. It's too dangerous. But then when Wolf Blitzer actually asked the real question, what about Black Lives Matter protest? Is okay. And watch this nonsense. Now, this is from Dinesh D'Souza, who is an amazing person. So I want you guys to see this one very quickly. I've got to drop myself off there again. For some reason, the Zoom keeps staying up there. Here we go. So this ought to be interesting, folks. All right. Be patient.
It means things like parades. Things that here in the city can mean not just thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people. It's just not time for that now.
What about protests? If people want to march down Fifth Avenue, are they going to be allowed to do so?
Look, Wolf, this is always an area of real sensitivity. This is a historic moment of change. We have to respect that. But
I'd like to talk about Bill de Blasio, essentially America's answer to Hugo Chavez, a complete bloviating buffoon, one who doesn't hesitate to use hypocrisy, contradiction, and sheer nonsense as long as it promotes his ideological agenda. So Bill de Blasio says that it is not a good idea to get out for weddings or funerals, certainly not for Trump rallies or church meetings, but it is okay to get out if you are doing Black Lives Matter protesting. You think that someone who said something like this, so obviously transparent, so hypocritical, would feel some obligation to explain the evident double standard, to say, well, here's why these types of gatherings are okay. Here's why the virus understands that this is a Black Lives Matter protest, so it's going to stay away. Or at least here's why it's worth it for black people to get coronavirus, because after all, their racial protests are much more important than their health or their lives. You think some sort of argument would be forthcoming, but no, not from de Blasio. He doesn't care. He just basically goes, I'm going to create an exemption right here because it suits me. And this is really what socialist politicians do. They don't bother to explain. They don't have to. Contradictions, lies, double standards are part of their normal métier. The other thing that de Blasio has been doing is painting Black Lives Matter, a massive sign right in front of Trump Tower. And there is de Blasio himself, in sort of janitorial splendor, doing the painting himself, along, of course, with his sidekick, Al Sharpton.
Let's show Donald Trump what he does not understand. Let's paint it right.
right in front of his building for him.
This sort of thing raises a very interesting question. What do they mean by Black Lives Matter? Obviously, the life of a black cop, his safety, doesn't matter. His life doesn't matter. A black guy shot by another black guy in a drive-by shooting in an inner-city neighborhood. That black victim's life doesn't matter. Black kids shot by armed protesters who are marching behind the banner of Black Lives Matter. That black kid's life doesn't matter. So Black Lives Matter is obviously not about Black Lives Mattering. So what is it about? Well, the leaders of Black Lives Matter are very clear. It's about socialism. It's about creating a Marxist society. They were trained Marxist activists. Now, de Blasio knows this. Why? Because it's something of his own background. He was groomed as a left-wing socialist activist. He would tour places like Cuba and Nicaragua and sing the praises of the regime. So he's a thoroughly bad guy, a wolf, if you will, in sheep's clothing. And his outward buffoonism and stupidity should not camouflage it. This is a very malevolent, dangerous individual, just as Hugo Chavez was. Ultimately, I hope that New Yorkers see it, and ultimately, I hope they kick him out to the curb.
It means things like parades, things that here in the city can mean not just thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of
All right,
people.
folks, there you go. So that's
it's
Dinesh
just not
D'Souza.
time for that now.
Mind
What
watching
about
that? I think that was brilliant. Spot on. De Blasio, mayor of the largest city in the United States, 9 million in the city proper, 16 million in the greater metropolitan area of New York. And this is the clown that's leading this city. This is the epicenter of the virus until recently. This is where it all burned out of control in New York City, New Jersey, Connecticut, right there, courtesy of their idiocy back in February, telling people to continue to go to community fairs, continue to go to events, go do this, go do that, when we knew that this was a problem. They're the ones that allowed this virus to get a foothold here on the East Coast. It was a different story in Seattle. Anyway, let's see what we got here. So when are conservatives going to start fighting back? That's a good question, Bruce Busters. It is a good question. Sasius, Chris, how prevalent is Marxism becoming in the U.S.? See, many YouTubers tacitly endorse those ideas. Well, it is there, but here's an interesting thing, too. Let me show you this. I was going to hold off on this. This is a little scary, folks. Check this out. You ready for this? All right, this is from Frank Luntz, who's a pollster here in the United States. He says 60% of Americans agree with the ideas behind the Black Lives Matter protest, including 53% of white Americans and 58% of independent voters. Well, ladies and gentlemen, if 60% of Americans believe this nonsense, that's utter nonsense, then the Republic is lost. This is, what are we fighting for? What did I spend all my life in uniform supporting and defending the Constitution for all Americans? American Samoans, Puerto Ricans, Hispanics, Cubans, Mexican Americans, German Americans, Black Americans. What was the point of all that? If what matters is that we have to listen to an oppressive group and people buy into their nonsense. It's a terrorist group. And Donald Trump and the federal government need to designate Black Lives Matter a terrorist group. We've seen what their actions are. And every time they do it, it wasn't us. It wasn't us. Someone else is appropriating the mantle of our leadership. No. You're responsible for this. All right, folks, nobody's calling in. I thought you guys were hot full. Everybody wanted to talk about what's going on. Anyway, well, the window's open. You guys asked for it. I did put the link there. You've got to call in if you want to be heard on the channel. The South African says, hashtag Tech Cyril and Tech New York. Yeah. And, well, put NYC. That's what you want. New York City. The state's beautiful. Bobby B says, there's no way 60% believe in their Marxist cause. Just they're the naive ones don't realize. Thank you very much, Bobby B. I agree with you. That's exactly true. Doc Berger says conservatives are fighting back. Turns out the Democrats will cannibalize themselves just to survive the wave. Look how suspicious Stalin turned out. I will call in. Let me install Zoom. Oh, it's going to be a couple minutes then if Bobby B is going to call in. You have to set up like an account. Don't worry, it's not a charge account. I'm the one paying for the service. You guys can call in so we can host the Zoom session. Let me see if anybody's popped up yet. Nope, still got nobody. It's just me. Anyway, listen, I really want to take people's calls because I know people are really frustrated. But since people aren't calling, I can get back to the chat and I'll do that and see what people got to say. Yeah, by the way, Lynn says smash the like button. Please, folks, we had 206 people a minute ago tuned in. feel free to tap that like button right there. And if you're not a subscriber, hey, feel free to subscribe to the channel. See if you like it. I don't always rant. I do that occasionally. People like the rants. Most people. Some people don't. They take off. But feel free to subscribe to the channel if you're not a subscriber. And if you're not a member, you can become a member of Chris White Africa and support the channel. Really appreciate that. By the way, putting the donations to good use today, I did something else, was out earlier. And because sometimes it's like being in South Africa here or Southern Africa or other parts of Africa where electricity has become unreliable. Our nuclear power plant at 3 Mile Island is located about 25 kilometers from where I sit. So let's hope the fallout doesn't come again. But I'm located close to that. But because the power has been unreliable of late in the middle of lockdown, I did this. Got myself a 900 watt APC uninterrupted power supply backup. There you go. I had others, but that one's been around for the ones I have are old, so the batteries are not so reliable. So I got myself a new one just because power is unreliable. And I'm using the money from the donations to the channel. Speaking of donations, looks like we got one that just came in. So I'll talk about that in a second. Let me see if anybody has called in yet. Okay, someone's there. Marabani's there. Okay, here we go. I need to put my earpiece in so I can talk to Marabani. All right, didn't even know you were there, Marabani. You were silent in the chat, or if you were talking. Bobby B came in after him. So Marabani's first, and then I'll get Bobby B in. Okay, so we've got a super chat from Alexander Dempers, 7 rands. Thank you so much for the super chat. And that's nothing required, just kind of a stripper chat there. So Marabani's coming in. There he is. He's smiling because I said stripper chat, aren't you? I can't hear you, Marabani. Is your mic on? Are you there? Marabani. I'm not hearing you. Go back and see if something's wrong. Your mic is turned off. You got to unmute your mic. All right, folks, be patient. Marabani's a good guest. Just got to get his mic turned on. There it is. There it is. There it is. All right. So,
all right. How are you?
I'm fine. Marabani's in the Netherlands. I don't think we're letting any state secrets out there. He's studying up in the Netherlands. So, Marabani, are you hot full, or did you think it was an amazing speech, or what?
Well, you know, I sort of got numb to developments in South Africa a couple of years ago. So I went through my whole big outrage phase and sort of cleansed all of my most dire apprehensions a while ago. And I mean, I spent a lot of time envisaging all of the worst case scenarios and looking up what they would look like based on various other similar situations. And yeah, so at the moment, I do get kind of pissed off, but frankly, because South Africa has been on a very, very strong downward trajectory for a while now, the only thing that I actually really got a sense of deep sort of outrage at recently has actually been the situation in the United States, funnily enough, because I did not see that coming. I really didn't. So yeah, what you guys have been dealing with has been a shock to my system, to be quite frank. And it's in many ways it's more threatening to global stability than many other things, I think.
No, I would agree absolutely, and I don't think many people saw it at all. What I will say, though, is that I did express concern from the outset with lockdowns that this was going to create social unrest, but I didn't anticipate that Antifa and Black Lives Matter would have people pre-positioned in metropolitan cities around the country and have resources ready to fuel the flames of an insurrection, and that the government would stand by and allow it to happen. That I didn't predict. I mean, even in a place like Minneapolis, I expected law enforcement and the mayor to call for calm, to put curfews in place. And instead, they retreated and let people burn down police stations, people be beaten in the streets, even in Washington, D.C. It's just absolutely insane. This is beyond. This reminds me of the anarchists at the turn of the 20th century in the United States. We had a serious problem with anarchists in this country. It was a real issue, and we seem to be right back to that now. It's absolutely crazy, and I agree with you. This is more dangerous for the world to happen in the United States than what's happening in South Africa. Horrible for South Africans, but more dangerous for global stability if it's here.
Yeah, no, I mean, the thing is, if I was going to draw a parallel, I'd actually draw a parallel to the 1970s. I mean, America had social unrest of a level that most people just don't remember. And if you read about it now, there's a fantastic book called, I think it's called Days of Rage.
Yes.
I read it years ago, so I can't remember too many details. But I mean, one statistic stuck in my head was that they had 1,900 bombings just in the year 1971 alone.
Yep.
And it came, I mean, all of this mass violence came shortly on the wave of a cultural revolution in the universities. And as they all spilled out into the rest of the world, into the political parties and into the civil service and into the general ranks of the unemployed and the lumpen proletariat, as they call them, you saw a lot of people going and joining paramilitary units and terrorist units, the Weathermen Underground, the Black Panthers, and all of this kind of stuff. And you saw a hell of a lot of violence. I mean, similar sort of scenes of chaos and disruption across several major Democrat-held centers in the United States. And I think one of the things people forget, because there's generally the left-wing, it's around the left-wing narrative about protests and so on, is that genuine protests are always spontaneous and leaderless, and it's just the people expressing their anger. And the reality is that you can't organize a protest without organization. You have to actually have people who are connected to a lot of who are connected to a large social network, formal or otherwise, in order to actually get a protest going. Mm-hmm. And particularly when you see protests that are so homogenous in their political aims, it actually requires something of a patronage network. And I think that what people fail to recognize is that society is always a series of patronage networks. Even if you're looking online, there's a wonderful article by oh goodness me, I can't remember his name, but he has a fantastic blog called Put a Num on It, as in put a number on it. It's about statistics and various things. And he did he's an Israeli American. He did a really good article where he said, actually no, it might have been Venkatesh Rao who wrote that article, not the Put a Num on It guy. But at any rate, he was writing about something called the Internet of Beefs. And he was talking about how, these big arguments that you get online. And what happens is that you have these big figures who are thought leaders in various areas. And they'll have like a patronage system of people who follow their ideologies online, and then will follow them and their arguments to various forums across the internet on social media. And so he said he likened this to like feudal networks where you have lords and vassals and so on. But if you look broadly at sort of the social science behind protests, you'll notice that actually this follows in the real world as well. And it's not just something that happens when you've got people trying to resist government. Ruling parties in various autocratic states will organize mass protests and demonstrations in order to support reforms that they want to do, or just to generally intimidate people who might stand against the regime. And I think anyone in South Africa will recognize this. You got, the ANC wants to have a policy change. All of a sudden, you'll see a lot of protests that the police don't have any real problem with springing up all over the country. And I used to go to these protests, and I was actually a marshal in a couple of them back in the day. And what happens is that they'll bus people in, and they'll provide them with water, and they'll provide them with free food, sometimes even free booze.
Yep.
And so you don't get protests like that happening without some kind of formal network supporting them. And in the United States, all of the intelligence coming out of that community is saying that there are billions of dollars in funding, not only from Democratic aligned units, but also things like the Open Society Foundation, and a lot of it even from China. So what you got is just money flooding in to try and support this kind of destabilizing movements. And it's no coincidence that it happened in Democratic held areas.
No, not at all. It's in fact, it's exactly what we've seen here in the States with these recent events. Is that people are being bussed in, and you know, for not even from the area. In fact, in California, several small towns, Antifa tried to go and cause chaos to tear statues down and to destroy public property. But the Hells Angels and a few other biker gangs put the word out that don't you dare come here, and it kind of put a damper on that. And like little toddlers with wet nappies, they ran the other way, and they never came to these towns. So it's sad that law enforcement can't stand up, and state governors with their National Guards to this mess. Really, really messed up. Hey, listen, what's your Friday look like, Robert? You think you come on Friday?
My Friday. As far as I'm aware, I'm not doing anything.
Okay.
I should be good.
Why don't we do a Friday session, a special feature with a former communist, and we'll talk about the situation here in the U.S. and we'll talk about these issues. Does that sound good?
Yeah, lovely.
Okay, great. All right. For those who don't know, Marabani is a reformed communist. He once drank from the pool of Rhodes or UCT, one of those places where he was at, and he saw the light.
I was radical. Well, I wouldn't say radicalized because it didn't really feel like radicalization. But I fell into Marxism at high school, at the high school level, because I had a teacher who taught philosophy, and because he was into Marxism, I thought Marxism was fantastic. So because he was very impressive man.
But the Marxists don't believe in this. And what I'm going to do is we're going to do word of the day. Today's word of the day is freedom. Freedom. Freedom.
Oh, yeah. Isn't that a slippery term?
There you go. Freedom. There you go. That's something Marxists don't like, liberty and freedom. So anyway, hey, by the way, how did you like the Dinesh D'Souza clip? Was that okay? Was that interesting?
It's an absolutely startling example of communicative stupidity from your governor over there, because I mean, just openly admitting that every kind of public gathering is banned except for these radical far left ones is, I mean, that's just failure to he could have just lied and said Black Lives Matter protests are not allowed, and then just act in the opposite way. But he chose to accidentally be honest. No, but I thought Dinesh D'Souza's response was very. I mean, I have to be honest. While Dinesh D'Souza is right on a lot of things, his communication really lacks punch. And like using the term buffoons, he marks himself as very archaic. And
hey, wait a second! I resemble that comment.
No, you may resent it very much, but I think the thing is that
no, I didn't say I resent it. I said I resemble it because I use the word buffoon when I talk about politicians.
No, it's a wonderfully curmudgeonly phrase.
It is
because it manages to insult people without being too rude.
Exactly.
But I think when you're talking about mainstream communication, where you're reaching a lot of a larger modern audience, if you use archaic language, you very much mark yourself out for where you're from socioeconomically and politically and culturally. And people, it's one of those things where you sort of learn to dodge the big sort of signaling landmines if you're following modern conversation. And Dinesh D'Souza is still stuck in the 1980s or earlier in terms of rhetoric. So I think his audience is going to always be limited.
Dinesh D'Souza's audience will be limited.
Yeah. I mean, that's just the state of things. I mean, particularly on the right, you look where all of the real new developments are coming from. It's from people who are into Catholic integralism or neo-reaction or funny things like that. And the way that they talk is much more influenced by the way that people used to write in the 19th century. And because no one nowadays reads those books, they absolutely bypass all of these big sort of obvious flags for where people sit rhetorically. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the big thing is rhetoric tells people, how you speak, what words you use to describe things. tends to tell people where you sit on the political landscape. And one of the big things that the new right is doing is that they're using language that is not recognizable as being part of all of these cheesy mainstream political campaigning strategies.
Sure, but part of this new right, I don't know if you include in that people like Candace Owens and Charlie Kirk. Is that who you include in the new right or no?
I think they're very stale, and I think
I
lot
agree.
Of people,
I agree they're very stale. They're also very elitist. They are only interested in certain people associating with them. Other folks reach out to them. What's that? The organization that Charlie Kirk has started. They really don't reach across.
Turning Point USA.
Yeah, exactly.
They're actually a containment strategy, because you remember, and I'm going to be very dangerous over here and mention Groypers. You know who they are.
Yeah.
So they're usually like Catholic integralists and then white nationalists. And basically what they went and did is a large number of them went and attended Turning Point USA conferences, and then agitated against them about specific issues surrounding traditional values like, gay marriage and so on, and immigration. Those are the two big issues.
Right.
And the big thing they complained about is that what Turning Point USA was doing was attempting to seize the middle ground again, which is something that conservatives do all the time. As the left pushes left, then in order to dodge the slings and arrows that the left give them, conservatives will seize the middle ground that's been left behind by the left as they move in the direction of progress. And so Turning Point USA has got like a lot of homosexuals and a lot of very pro-immigrant people. And so what they really are is they're like the Democratic Party of the 1990s.
Yeah, no, that seems like a reasonable assessment. Okay, so Friday, I'll get you on Friday. We'll do a special feature with Marabani. And before I get you off here, because I got Bobby B coming in a second, somebody asked a question. I forgot who it was. Said, "Hey, any news on when you do a fourth installment?" I think they're talking about your South Africa series.
Oh yeah, no, actually, this is just a quick break from actually working on that. I should, if I have a really good work session tomorrow, I should have it up by the end of tomorrow.
Okay. Brilliant.
Yeah.
Okay, good. I know some folks been waiting on that. All right. So I'll get in touch with you. Send me a photo through LinkedIn if you want, and a short bio so I can make the banner for the special feature for Friday. Okay.
Oh, fantastic. Okay. Well, thank you very much.
No worries.
Have a good day.
All right. Thanks a lot, Robert. Take care. Going to get Bobby B in here as soon as he heads out. Thanks to my guest Marabani for checking in. I really appreciate that. And he's not disappearing from the screen. What is with Zoom? That keeps happening. People aren't leaving when they say they're leaving. There we go. Okay, so we're going to bring Bobby B in now in just a moment, folks. Thank you so much for tuning in. You're listening to Chris Wyatt Africa on the Indaba Africa channel here on YouTube. My guest coming in now. We are talking about President Cyril Ramaphosa and his speech this evening. Okay, I can hear Bobby, but I can't see Bobby. Are you hiding?
Oh, okay. I don't have a camera.
No, that's okay. All right. So then we have Bobby B by audio only. So
yeah, sorry.
No, it's quite all right. But
I was a bit confused at first because I was getting your YouTube audio that I was listening to on my headphones, and then you brought me into the call. I've never done this before, so it's all new to me.
It's quite all right. We're all rookies at some point. Yeah. So what you have to do is make sure you have the volume turned down and have an earphone in so you can, because the other piece of this is not only do you get the sound coming, but we're a couple seconds ahead of the actual feed reaching people.
Yeah, I got that. I muted the stream,
okay,
so we're good now.
All right,
hear
Bobby.
you.
So what's on your mind, and where are you calling in from?
I am calling from the great state of New Hampshire, the greatest state in the Union, the live free or die state.
Is that the Granite State?
The Granite State as well. That is another motto, although not as interesting in my opinion as live free or die, which I believe comes from one of our forefathers or founding fathers. Give me liberty or give me death. I can't remember his name. I'm horrible.
I think it's one of the few places. That's Patrick Henry, not Patrick Henry. Give me liberty. Oh, now you got me off. Oh, it's no. It's oh gosh.
I think you're right about the Henry part.
Yeah. No, it's not. But anyway, I know who that is, but I'm drawing a blank right now. But New Hampshire, one of the few places a conservative is safe in New England these days.
Maybe, yeah. Yeah, there's some conservatives up here. They're quiet. Too quiet sometimes.
So Bobby, what's on your mind? Did you watch Ramaphosa, or are you just calling in for giggles and grins?
Yeah, I just got home from work and I caught your live streaming and I said, oh, I'll jump in. So Yeah, I figured I'd give you a call and pick your brain about conspiracy theories because that's one of my favorite things.
Okay, well, it's just a little plug for Joe Emilio's program. About a month and a half ago, Joe asked me to come on his program and talk about conspiracy theories. He wanted to ask me about Area 50, whatever it is, all that stuff. And he wanted.
I won't be asking about that.
Yeah, no, but he asked me about conspiracy theories, and I'm not a big fan of conspiracy theories, but in this day and age, what's going on around the world with this whole situation, you can't help but start to give credence to some conspiracy theories. There's just too many. Yeah, Patrick Henry was correct. We got it right. People are telling us we got the right name.
Good
Patrick
call.
Henry. Yeah, I've seen your moment here. I'm trying to run the broadcast and get this rookie Bobby B in the conversation. Anyway.
You are forgiven, of course. Yeah, it sucks because we're kind of living. Oh, I'm sorry. Should I watch my language?
I already got a thing on this thing telling me that it's limited earnings. So
okay, I'll try not to throw f-bombs out.
Yeah, don't be gratuitous. That's all I ask.
Okay, sometimes I can't help myself. I get a little excited. I like to have fun. We're living in the timeline where it seems all the conspiracies are coming true. Like,
yeah,
it's really annoying. But the fact that you don't like conspiracies is why I wanted to bring it up with you, because I know that if you show any interest in them at all, then there might be some credence to it.
Well, you're probably also suspecting that since I work so long in the national intelligence community, maybe I know something too.
Yeah, but I know if you did know anything, you'd probably be putting your life at risk if you said anything about them. So yeah, I probably won't be doing that. But I'm most interested. I wrote a few down. I wonder if you've seen the Yuri Bezmenov interviews, or if you're familiar with who that is.
People keep bringing that up, and I have not. Who is this Bezmenov guy? Please give me a little background.
Yuri, I'll give you a quick thing. On my channel, I have an 8-minute video where I cut up from an 1.5-hour interview that he did with G. Edward Griffin back in the 80s. Mm-hmm. It's titled 8 Minutes Everyone Must See. And the reason it's relevant is because if you watch it, and I watched it a few years ago, and I was just struck by how accurately he was describing the turmoil in our society today. And he was giving these interviews back in the 80s. Mm-hmm. He is a former KGB agent. He worked for the KGB. He was involved in what he calls cultural subversion. So he was originally stationed in India, and he spent some time there sowing foment, trying to sow rebellion. Mm-hmm. And pretty much he describes it as the USSR used Marxism to infiltrate societies and weaken them from within so that they could be taken over by somebody, a communist pretty much, or a Marxist like we're seeing today. He ended up leaving and defecting to the West because he realized that these friends of his that he was making in India, who he was going to get to start the revolution, that they would be pretty much cannon fodder. And even if they made it to the end, they'd all be executed. So he ended up leaving and coming to the West and trying to warn us about it. I find him very interesting because he seems very credible. And like I said, the 1.5-hour interview is just full of lines that he pulls out. Like, he calls them social justice warriors, even back in the early 80s. Mm-hmm. He called, this is, I think he is, I could be wrong, but as far as I can tell, he's the first person that I've heard, or the furthest back in time person that I've heard use the term useful idiots. Maybe it's been around forever, but it's
I don't know. It's been around
that's
forever,
pretty much his story.
But I've heard the term useful idiots since the early 1990s in the context of liberals. It was used by conservatives. I don't know that that person created it. It's probably longer, like you said, with Bezmenov.
Well, he didn't create it, but it's a Russian term, or a KGB term. They call people that they see. This is what he describes. He says you want to infiltrate the left and get them to foment the rebellion because they are useful idiots. You can appeal to them and their feelings, and you can get them to do things like we see with BLM right now and Antifa. Starting fights and riots in the streets, political intimidation. This has been going on for years. Censorship. And people call them liberals, and this really is a pet peeve of mine because everything they do is illiberal. If you're against free speech, if you're willing to attack your political opponents, there's nothing liberal about you.
Well, Bobby, for that matter, the anti-fascists, they are brown shirt fascists. That's exactly what they are.
I just did a video on my way home from work today saying pretty much the exact same thing and just complaining about that because all these useful idiots are just being used by the elites and the corrupt in our government to pretty much cover for them right now. Like, I think you've been paying some attention to the conspiracy against Trump, the coup, right? I don't know if you would call it a coup.
No, that's
you
not
would call that a coup, right?
That's not a
conspiracy.
conspiracy.
Oh, it is a conspiracy.
No, it's not a conspiracy. It's legitimate. It's real. It's real.
No, but Yeah, a conspiracy theory is a term used to malign people who are pushing conspiracies.
Yes.
But a conspiracy is just a group of people who conspire, right?
Yeah, no.
I'm not saying it in a negative sense at all. It's a literal conspiracy.
Bobby, what I'm saying is that I have bought into that wholeheartedly. There's no doubt for me. Listen, I was a counterintelligence agent. I know what the standards are for a Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act warrant. I know how it works. I've had to get those things before. I've had to do investigations on Americans accused of espionage abroad, and I know how the process works. So when I heard about this, my eyebrows went up immediately because getting a FISA warrant historically has been very difficult to do. You can't just do it on a whim. And then when I saw that the ambassador to the United Nations had hundreds of Americans unmasked, what is she even seeing top secret sensitive compartment information for? There's nothing that she could possibly have a justification for seeing anything for anybody from the Trump campaign. That is not even remotely her role. So from then on, I knew the whole thing was cooked. Now we find out, we get the disclosures that the original warrant and the 3 subsequent warrants against Carter Page were all fraudulent. So everything after that is the fruit of the poisonous tree. This whole thing has been shameful because it has undermined U.S. foreign policy, has undermined our reputation, and we have people around the world now who actually buy into political concepts that have been disproven because they've been led down the road like sheep to slaughter.
Yeah. Oh, you're spot on. And you didn't go far enough. You didn't even mention that, like Devin Nunes, the representative from California, he has implied that Joseph Mifsud is a Western intelligence asset. And Joseph Mifsud is the guy that told Papadopoulos that the Russians had emails of Clinton's. So, I mean, the further you look into this, every single one of these people was set up. Like I've been railing on the Flynn thing lately because the documents just came out that released it. The FBI knew within the first month that all of that stuff on Flynn was bad. They actually knew before they even continued the investigation because they had been investigating him during the summer and fall.
Right.
And they found nothing. I think it was January 4th, 2017. They wanted to close the case, and Peter Strzok, the guy who was in the Oval Office with Biden and Obama, when they were with Comey plotting to spy on Flynn, he was there talking about what was that? The day before, he had the note asking if he wanted to get him fired, like what the goal was. So it's obvious they weren't investigating any crime, because if they were investigating a crime, they would have gone after him for that crime, not try to set him up in a lie. And maybe you would know this, but I've heard a couple of people mention that when you're talking to the FBI, like the FBI agents that talked to Flynn in the White House, they didn't disclose that they were doing an investigation, as far as I can tell. Yeah. And I think if you're talking to the FBI and you lie to them and they want to nail you on lying, they have to warn you about the U.S. code of law that applies to that, right?
Well, if you're suspected of a crime, this is established law. The Supreme Court has validated the Miranda process. You must be advised of your rights if you're suspected of a crime. If they're investigating, they have no reason to believe that you are a target of it. And that's what they told Flynn. So everything that Flynn said after that is not even admissible in court. It's not even admissible.
My point was, I think Sidney Powell made this point, and I thought it was really good, that if they thought he was lying, which there's actually documents out now that prove, I think that they've come out. Maybe the 302 hasn't been released yet, but supposedly that first 302 proves that they didn't even think he was lying at the time, and that's why Peter Strzok. You've seen the text messages from Strzok to Lisa Page, where he was talking about revising the 302s, and he wanted to make it sound authentic because it wasn't in his writing originally. So it's everything about that was a setup. But if he actually did lie to them, they were supposed to warn him with the law that he might be breaking. As far as I understood it, that was the argument that I think Sidney Powell had made. I thought that was really good. But anyways,
I think
conspiracy.
I think it's a very good point. Sidney Powell is a brilliant attorney, and
hopefully she's awesome.
Hopefully she gets Michael Flynn out of this. Listen, I'm not a fan. For those who follow me, I'm not a fan of General Flynn. I've made this point before. When he was the director of the Defense Intelligence Agency, a place where I used to work, not during his tenure, but many years before that under Admiral Jacoby and others. But when he and General Maples, but when he was the director of the Defense Intelligence Agency, he publicly said things that contradicted what the President of the United States said. Now, Barack Obama was a buffoon. There you go, Marabani. I used the word again. And his policy was bankrupt, and it was foolish, and it led to the deaths of hundreds of thousands of people in the Middle East, encouraging the Arab Spring. But that does not give the right of a general who heads one of the agencies in the executive branch the president's responsible for to publicly contradict him. So he was insubordinate in that. And I'm telling you that the reason they went after Flynn is that these deep state operatives who are Obama, sycophants, are the ones that got even with General Flynn. They destroyed General Flynn because he he had the audacity to be insubordinate under Obama. And that's why Flynn was targeted, not because he was a national security advisor. There were easier targets to go after than Flynn. And Flynn's biggest mistake is when he sat down and they told him he wasn't a target, he should have said, well, you know what? Just in case, let me get a lawyer in here. That's what he should have done.
Yeah, he probably should have. I don't have proof of this, but I suspect that they went after Flynn because you said he was a former DIA head, right?
Yes.
So if they see, because I don't think that this spying thing has just been going on with Obama. I bet you it's been going on for a long time. And if he was that high in the intelligence community, chances are he kind of knew that something was going on. So I think that they went after him to keep him silent, and that's why they're trying to stretch it out now past the election. But that's my little conspiracy theory. Anyways, back to the Yuri Bezmenov thing. I just think it's, I bring it up and people think, oh, you're saying the KGB's manipulating us. And it's like, no, they just, if you listen to them, they don't like actively try to manipulate necessarily. They will sometimes, like they did with the bots, but like they were pitting both sides against each other in 2016. That's their goal, I think, is to divide us. But all it was is that once you get enough Marxist concepts infused into the society, they kind of roll on their own into a big ball that just crashes into a wall if you don't stop it first.
Well, it's just it's a question of inertia. It just
exactly
continues. Yeah, that's what
like we let it go so far that they're actually controlling universities now pretty much and indoctrinating kids. Like a lot of the gender studies and ethnic studies and even sociology 20 years ago when I was in college, like this is what they were teaching them, this like literal intersectional feminism, which is a bastardized form of Marxism. So that's my only point why I think the Yuri Bezmenov interviews are so relevant, because I think it provides at least a factor into the situation that we're dealing with today.
All right, so very quickly, because I've got Lynn waiting, what's one or two more conspiracy theories we may not get into that you're curious my view on?
It's funny because people think when you bring these up that you completely agree with them. Yuri's the only one that I think is pretty solid, but there's some people that I've been talking to, and they call these things DUMBs. Like these big military camps, and that they have like underground tunnels that go from different city to different city in the U.S. And I'm just I have the same reaction. I'm like, that would be really hard to hide. But
not only would it be really hard to hide, it's just what's the value and purpose of it? It's insane. It's like, look, I mean, I don't know how many times I have people come on my stream and ask me about the U.S. military base in Botswana. There's no base there. I've been there. I lived there.
Chris, you didn't know this, but I talked to these people, and they told me the DUMBs are where they're going to bring us to execute us all. So we should be worried, And the other thing I brought up in a stream a couple weeks ago, and you did notice it. The Ghanan president supposedly had released an audio tape about how this whole pandemic thing was all orchestrated by the Rockefeller Group. And he linked to a Rockefeller Group document that appears real. I assume it's a fake because the Ghanan president video on YouTube, and I think I told you it was a conspiracy theory. The Ghanan president on YouTube, it was just a picture of him, and I listened to him, and it sounds similar, but not exactly the same. And why wouldn't he have released it on his Facebook page? But I thought that one was pretty funny. Pretty
that one I'm not. Look, as far as conspiracy theories, and not to get into them now, but we could talk some other time about the denigration of capitalism and the distortion of the U.S. economy and the myth that capitalism is dead, which Barack Obama and others perpetuated, which is utter nonsense.
That's not a conspiracy theory.
It's reality, right? But
that's what they're doing.
Yeah, exactly. But it's a distortion of the marketplace by the government, and then they pretend that they had no role in it. All right, I'm going to get Lynn in here. Thanks a lot for calling in, Bobby, and
all right.
Live Free. Oh, by the way, people put in the chat, I don't know if you saw it, the source was General Stark, who did the Live Free and Die. It was in 1806, and then became part, I think, of the Constitution of New Hampshire in 1945 or something like that. Somebody put up there. So thanks for that. I'm going to get Lynn in. Thanks a lot, Bobby V. We'll stay.
Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Tell Lynn I said hi.
I will. I'll get you to drop off, and then I'll bring Lynn on. So I want to thank Bobby V.
Figure that out.
You just got to do leave meeting, bottom right-hand side, and that'll get you out. All right, so going to get Lynn in here, folks. Thanks for tuning in. You're listening to Indaba Africa, Chris Wyatt Africa channel here on YouTube. We're talking about President Cyril Ramaphosa and his speech this evening on the 12th of July, 2 days before Bastille Day, ladies and gentlemen. By the way, Bastille Day is just around the corner, and we're trying to get Lynn on here now. Lynn is a roadie from South Africa, grew up in Rhodesia. I've got voice, but do I have voice? Lynn,
hello.
I got the voice, but no picture. Is your picture down tonight?
I don't know where it's. Oh, hang on. I've got the volume.
People are going to start thinking I'm just a radio call-in show because there's no pictures.
It won't. There we go.
There we go. All right, there's Lynn. Welcome, Lynn. How are you tonight?
Angry.
Angry. Oh, come on. What are you upset about? What you could possibly be upset about? It's a beautiful Sunday. We heard from the president. We were so happy to hear from President Ramaphosa.
Well, I think we'd all be a lot better if we never heard from him again. As far as I'm trying to keep it clean because at the moment, I mean, how can you watch the president when you have load shedding?
Well, that's a good question. And Ernst Rutz from Afroforum posted on Twitter he wouldn't be watching it because he has no electricity. That was good.
Well, at least, I'm steamed. I'm angry because of what I've seen on WhatsApps and Zoom and all of that. I just can't believe that he is doing what he's doing. My brain just cannot process the mentality that we deal with here in South Africa. I try, but
yeah, no, it's just insane. The whole thing was really bizarre. Hey, Lynn, can you hang on a second with it here? Because people keep asking about this. I found something to put on. So you and I will stay on there. Just don't talk for a minute. I'm going to show this video of the Bonhomme Richard, an aircraft carrier that's on fire in San Diego. Okay?
Sure, no problem.
Hang on. Browser. Sorry. Folks, actually, in that image there, which you saw, one of the ships that was in the foreground was a ship that was in West Africa when I was in Liberia a few years back, and we actually were on that ship for an exercise, so quite amazing. Are you there, Lynn?
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, folks said they couldn't see it. That's bizarre. That's bizarre. Okay, I'm sorry. Let me go back and try it again. Give me a second, Lynn. I don't know why that didn't come up. Sorry here. Okay, sorry, folks. I didn't know you couldn't see that. I saw it on the screen, so it's really odd that didn't. Let me try one more time very quickly here. Browser. Oh, that's why it's the wrong link. Hang on. Give me a sec. Oh, God bless it. That's just, God bless it. Sorry, folks. That's why. My apologies. That was in the wrong window. That's the problem. So this is worth waiting for, folks. Just give me a second here, and we'll get to it. Which one is that now? It's that one there. Okay, so here we go. This is the USS Bonhomme Richard, which is an aircraft carrier. It's in San Diego, and this was from 2 hours ago. It's still smoking now. 18 sailors have been injured in this explosion.
Unbelievable.
No, it's absolutely unbelievable. So that is one of our aircraft carriers, one of the newer ones. Okay, these are nuclear-powered ships, so this is not, obviously, an accident. I don't know what kind of accidents. I have no idea what caused this, but we can only speculate at this point. This is insane. See the ship in the foreground right there on that pier, that long pointing one? That's a ship that I was on in Liberia about 12 years ago. You can vaguely hear the helicopter pilot in the background. That's USS Bonhomme Richard. 18 sailors already hospitalized. This is insane. In San Diego, which is one of our largest naval bases in the U.S., folks. Sorry about the first time we missed that, but there you go. Let me, all right, there we go. Get you back. All right, Lynn, you're back. Sorry about that, folks. That's just crazy. All right, Lynn, you're back.
No, it is crazy. No, it is crazy what's going on around us. It's just, as I was saying earlier, before you showed the clip of the ship, I just can't believe what the world is coming to.
No, it's absolutely insane, and it's really, gosh, do you have your mic on there, Lynn? Because I'm getting feedback.
No, I'll turn
Okay.
it down again.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, it's just insane.
Is
and
that better?
That's not great, but it's okay. But it's just really, this is absolute insanity. I mean, going back to 9/11, since then the world has been upside down. What people believe in, what they don't believe in, it's just absolutely insane.
Yeah. As I said earlier, I just can't believe that we have a president like we have. Give us Donald Trump. We need a Donald Trump.
Well, we have to hang on to Donald Trump.
We need somebody like him. I mean, everybody's talking about, and please, I'm not being rude here, but everybody's, using big words to describe everything and what's going on. And bottom line is, what do we do to get out of the shit we're in?
Well, it's a good question, Lynn.
That's the big question.
That's a good question. What do we do? And who really knows? It's difficult to say with this insanity.
Because I can see you are hurtful,
Yep.
and tired of all this shit. I'm sorry, I'm swearing now. But yeah, we all tired of it, and it's starting to show.
Tom has corrected me. I'm sorry, the Bonhomme Richard. I'm sorry. I thought I was thinking of another aircraft. He's right. It's a Wasp-class amphibious assault ship, third ship in the Navy, not nuclear powered. Thank you, Tom. Appreciate that. Sorry for the misstatement. I was doing too many things at once here. Yep.
So yeah, my question to everybody watching is, what is the solution? What do we do? What do we do?
Well, it seems that you can't turn to the world to get the world's attention, do anything for South Africa. So what happens? How do you get the ANC's attention?
We've got to do it ourselves, unfortunately. And yeah, if we can get some direction. I mean, Big Daddy Liberty seems to be doing a very good job in talking to communities and stuff. But bottom line, we need somebody who's going to tackle the squirrel at the throat, and sort all this disgraceful behavior.
No, it's really it really is something else, isn't it? Lito says, "Can we ask the Taxi Association to help?" Yeah, right. I think you're being facetious there, obviously. Yeah. People are blaming the politicians in the chat, Lynn. But honestly, I think South Africans bear some of the guilt on this too. The millions who don't bother to vote.
Well, again, at least Big Daddy Liberty is doing what he can to get people to change their mindsets.
Yeah.
We all expect the rest of the world to bail us out. I mean, we had exactly the same thing in Rhodesia, but it never happened, and it's up to us. It's not up to the rest of the world to sort out our shit. We've got to sort it out ourselves.
Yeah,
but
and
we've
the
got
numbers.
to figure out, I don't know the way to do it. But I mean, if we have to march and toy and then that's what we're going to have to do.
Yeah, no, I got you on that one.
But enough is enough.
Exactly. I'm with you. That was the topic of my stream yesterday. Enough is enough, and off my video talking about what's going on here, the one I just did. But yeah, Bobby B says the zombie just came across. We got Jack Rabbit just subscribed to the channel. Thanks for that, Jack. I thought Jack Rabbit was a subscriber before. Did I scare you away and you unsubscribed and came back? Or is there more than one Jack Rabbit out there? It's possible. Yeah, the whole thing is just absolutely... Lynn, I don't know. Of course, Lynn grew up in Rhodesia, so she's seen this movie before, and the ending wasn't good. But the difference in Rhodesia is that the ending wasn't good primarily for white Rhodesians. This is going to be bad for all South Africans, not just white South Africans. That's the key difference here, and it's just not a good situation.
I mean, it's affecting everybody. I mean, my mindset is all lives matter, regardless. And at the end of the day, that doesn't seem to be the ANC's, what's the word I'm looking for? It's more a case of, oh, well, we've done what we can, so just get on and live with it kind of thing. And no, it's not good enough.
Yep. So there's a couple questions here in the chat. One from Alexander Dempers and Hendrik de Klerk said something. I'm going to get to those after Lynn leaves the conversation. I'll hold off on those so we don't take away from Lynn. But Lynn, I know you've got to be frustrated with this, having seen it all play out before and the world not pay attention. In fact, Rhodesia survived as long as it did because South Africa allowed it to use the rail lines in through the Transvaal for a long time after Mozambique and Angola fell. But then Forster turned his back on Rhodesia, and I'm not saying that's good or bad. It's just a reality, and the handwriting was on the wall. There's no way that Rhodesia could survive no longer having access to ports. But now South Africa, with this ANC shutting down the economy here, I don't know how this country can survive at this rate.
I don't know either. That's why I'm saying we actually all need to take a stand and find somebody who can lead us out of this quagmire of draconian rule. It's unbelievable.
Yeah. Oh, Shirley Creed says she grew up in Rhodesia too. Hi, Lynn. I didn't know that. Welcome, Shirley. I saw you chatting earlier. Okay, cool. Yeah,
Sorry,
no.
I didn't hear that. Chris.
No, I said that Shirley Creed said I grew up in Rhodesia too. Hi, Lynn.
Oh, hi, Shirley. Hi.
There aren't that many roadies. You might even know each other.
Well, when I lived in Nelspruit, what we said to each other was just shake a lychee tree and all the ex-Rhodesians will fall out. So there were a lot in Mpumalanga when I was living there. But yeah, unfortunately, and this is something that I really want to share with the live chat, is that unfortunately, guys, we have to do this ourselves. We cannot rely on America or the UK or anybody else in the world to sort out our problems. We've got to sort them out ourselves, and we've got to find a way to do it.
Absolutely.
I don't know whether you agree with me, Chris. I mean,
no, I
seeing
do.
What's going on in your country it's like a reflection of what's going on here. Obviously not to the extent of, ships burning and stuff like that, but the reality is people are starving.
No, well, they're starving. They're starving not just food. They're starving for liberty. They're starving for equality, and it's just crazy. A government that the world welcomed with great fanfare because it was supposed to be a democratic government is anything but a democratic government. So that's kind of where we're at.
I think Nelson Mandela is turning in his grave.
Yeah, probably so. Although some people think that he was as big a socialist and communist and totalitarian as others, I disagree with that. I think he was a pragmatist. I disagree with his methods when he resorted to MK and created the Umkhonto we Sizwe. But I understood his reasoning for it. At that stage, the political struggle wasn't achieving anything. But what happened with Nelson Mandela and Sisulu and all those guys and Tambo is that they made the ANC irrelevant. From 63 until 79, they were a non-factor in South Africa. But that's another story.
But I'm not talking about the young Nelson Mandela. I'm talking about the Nelson Mandela that came out of jail.
Yeah, no, I got your point, Lynn. Absolutely. Yeah, he would be turning his grave over this. Just, the guy who preached reconciliation, and reconciliation is not on the table for these guys.
Anyway,
right.
On that note, I'm going to go.
All right, Lynn.
Because I feel as if I've been very negative this evening.
No, it's quite all right. I think I started out the broadcast kind of negative, didn't I? Ek is hartvol.
Vicky Bayer hartvol.
All right. Well, thanks, Lynn. I really appreciate calling in once again. All right. Thanks a lot.
It's a pleasure. Have a good evening.
All right, thanks. Okay, folks, bye, Lynn. I'm gonna address some of the stuff that we talked about here. So once Lynn leaves the meeting there, my screen will get larger. She hasn't left yet. There we go. Okay, so I'm larger. So once again, today's word of the day is freedom. Freedom, ladies and gentlemen. There you go. Freedom. Anyway, let me address some of the questions that came up there and some of the comments that folks had very quickly. I want to make sure I cover those. So Alexander Dempers says, Chris, my question for the night is, why is the world turning a blind eye in South Africa in the first place? If the United Nations or even just the United Nations and or South Africa could jump in, it would help millions, right? the reality is this. The United Nations is co-opted by a bunch of folks who don't really care about equality and justice. It's a bumper sticker, and it only applies when Clarissa R. just subscribed. Well, thank you for subscribing, Clarissa. I hope you've enjoyed something here that found your attention, and especially we love to see the zombie climbing the Mahalisberg. Ladies and gentlemen, for those who don't know, if you're new to the channel, let me just do that very quickly. Behind me, my wallpaper is the Mahalisberg Mountains, and that's near Olafondsnek, which is, if that's the right-hand side of the road, traveling from west to east, coming from Svartruggens. And on the left-hand side right there is the exit for the Royal Bafokeng Stadium to go over to where the Bafokeng folks live. You go up the hill, not that hill, but the hill that you're on the road, and you continue straight, and you go up the rise, come down the other side, and when you do that, you drop into the exit for Rustenburg on the left. If you take the exit, and then if you take the right, go across the highway and turn off, you go to the Waterfalls Mall there in Rustenburg. So that's Olafondsnek up there. So that's what that is. Love to see the zombie climbing the Mahalisberg. That means someone is subscribed or someone has become a member of Chris Wyatt Africa. So thank you for becoming a subscriber. Really appreciate it. But back to the question here. The world is not paying attention because it doesn't fit the narrative. What I've told folks on my stream before is that when I've worked in embassies all over Africa, in Europe, and in Southwest Asia, and worked in the apparatus of government, international organizations. I worked at the African Union. I worked with the State Department. I've worked with AID. I've worked with embassies around the world. And I'm telling you that most people have a mindset that South Africa is the rainbow nation of 1994, and it's not. The ANC, especially under Cyril Ramaphosa, has turned South Africa into a racialized society, pitting one group against another for their own gain, while they are in the back of the safe stealing all the assets and resources. Now, if you watched me 2 years ago and my speech about South Africa's fragile democracy on the Great Decision series, I wasn't nearly this negative on the ANC. But 2 years under Cyril Ramaphosa have done nothing but reinforce the concept that this government only cares about pilfering and not about governing. Let's see. So hopefully I answered your question. Hendrik de Klerk says, Ronaldo said the same thing tonight. We people that did not vote need to vote for any party except the ANC. Cancer, yeah, we have. I agree. 8, 12 million people, whatever the true number is of South Africans that don't vote, just 1 million of those people voting would change the entire situation. Just 1 million. The Democratic Alliance in the 2016 municipal elections won 45% of the vote in Nelson Mandela Bay. They had to enter into a fragile coalition because they had 57 or 58 seats, whatever it was. And so they got coalition partners to get to the 61 so they could rule the city. The ANC got less percent of the vote, so they couldn't form a coalition. And so they formed a coalition, of course, with the worst of coalition partners because they had no choice, economic freedom fighters. And the entire time that they were in a coalition, the economic freedom fighters tried to undermine it. Then they left the coalition. They picked up a party with one seat, and they were able to hold on to the city, and eventually the whole thing fell apart. But despite that distraction of trying to keep the city council together and govern in Nelson Mandela Bay, the Democratic Alliance, in the brief period that it had control of the city for less than 2 years, made a significant difference in service delivery improvement and cleaning up the city of Nelson Mandela Bay, Port Elizabeth. Tremendous, tremendous difference. And that's what they can do. If only 5,000 or 9,000 more people had voted for them, which is a number they had achieved in the previous municipal election, then the Democratic Alliance would have won an outright majority. And that's what opposition parties need, outright majorities at provincial and municipal level. So the municipal elections in 2021, assuming they happen, are critically important to South Africa's future. And you must vote for anybody but the ANC. Hell, you can even vote for the EFF. I wouldn't recommend it, but anything to weaken the ANC so it gets a message and it's sent the message. Now, that's not a perfect solution, ladies and gentlemen, because much of the budget at the municipal level and the provincial level is dictated by the national government, by the parliament. So the ANC still controls that, and you can't change that till 2023. But South Africa can't survive till 2023, folks, if you don't change the governance in 2021. You must change it. You must go vote. You must go vote. Lenora says, voting won't help. We need a hostile takeover. The ANC is crap and the Democratic Alliance is crap light, all the same. Well, it's hard to argue with that, Lenora, excuse me. It is hard to argue with that. The Democratic Alliance has had control of the Western Cape for a long time, and there's still pervasive problems there. And one can be hard-pressed to look at what they've done to improve things at times. Nonetheless, if this was 2017, 2018, 2019, you would have found me in complete agreement with you, Lenora, but that's because I thought in that time frame, the Democratic Alliance lost the plot. But I think they've regained it to some measure. But the problem with the Democratic Alliance is that they seem to think that the most efficient path to changing society is court battles. Well, we're finding out that the courts, while they've been independent, the judiciary for most of the time, we're now seeing courts that act unreasonably. The North Gauteng High Court determining that the Tourism Relief Fund was not racially discriminatory when it denied relief funds to ethnic minorities that beggars the imagination. That is the definition of racism, favoring one race over another. It's absolute insanity. So that's a court that was co-opted on an issue. How they can justify, they don't know. But by the same token, they determined, the North Gauteng High Court determined that aspects of the lockdown were unconstitutional, what the ANC did. So go figure. You don't understand what they're doing from day to day. It's kind of like our Supreme Court. They make nonsensical decisions, and then they make 5 to 4 nonsensical decisions, and then they make 9-0 decisions that make sense. So it's just crazy. Yeah, so I'm with you, Lenore, but I think the DA has regained the plot. They just need to learn that politics, retail politics, means you're out in the streets, in the villages, in the townships every day. Not 90 days before an election, not as the election approaches, not even 6 months or a year before. You do it all the time. And you inspire people with your ideas. You convince them your ideas work. You show them examples of how things work properly and compare it to what you see. Simply waiting for an election is not how you gain power legitimately in a country. You've got to do it all the time. And whether it's the Tories and the Labour in the UK, in the UK, the Labour Party campaigned against Brexit, but they waited too late. And enough people were hot full of the nonsense coming out of Brussels with the European Union, so they voted for Brexit. But then, of course, they slow rolled and they held it up for several years and damaged the UK's reputation and its economy by not leaving sooner. But anyway, so there you go. Alexander Depper says, many people went to the UN in the International Criminal Court about the farm murders in South Africa, but the UN did nothing and allows the president statement. Okay, well, no one allowed the president of South Africa to make that statement. He made that statement on Bloomberg to a media site when he was in New York for the United Nations Summit. So he said what he said. The UN had no say over that. That's he's talking to the media. So I get your point and your sentiment. The International Criminal Court is not the place to go for farm murders in South Africa. The International Criminal Court is designed, and I know I did graduate work on this, and I've also worked with the International Criminal Court in proceedings, is the International Criminal Court is a place where people can try crimes against humanity, war crimes that states are unable or unwilling to prosecute. So, for instance, if Rwanda had not held its own tribunals to prosecute war criminals for genocide in Rwanda, then Rwanda could have referred those people by name to the ICC because they're a signatory, and then the ICC, when Rwanda turned them over to them, they would prosecute them. The ICC has no sovereignty over any state unless the state willingly signs the treaty, which the United States has not done, which ironically, the Rome Statute, we helped draft it. We're the reason it exists. And this was a shame over Bosnia in 92 and Rwanda in 94. That's why that came about, why the ICC came about. So that's now there's another approach possibly with International Court of Justice. That's between states. So for instance, another state might say, let's say Luxembourg says that events that the South African government is doing, like for instance BEE, discriminate against their business interests in South Africa, and then Luxembourg could sue South Africa in the International Court of Justice, state versus state, for a resolution about BE. Now that's a possibility. You need to find a foreign state that's willing to sue South Africa over its policies. And a foreign state could potentially, say some company like Del Monte, an American company, has agricultural holdings in South Africa, and their farm workers and farmers are murdered because the state is not providing security in an effective fashion or prosecuting criminals when they're found. Then, say the United States could take South Africa to the International Criminal or the International Court of Justice. So that's kind of how it works, folks. Just so it's a little clearer there. Yeah. So let me get back to the chat and catch a few things here. All right. Didn't California just revoke the non-discrimination law? I'm not sure, Bobby B, which one you're talking about. No, it's not nuclear notorious G. I misspoke. That's my error. I was trying to do too many things at once. Sorry. Thank you, Tom, for sorting that out and getting us set straight. Jill Ashkettle, Chris, wouldn't it be better to all agree to stand behind the DA rather than split the votes? Yeah, no, I agree, Jill. But I'm not an advocate for the DA, but I would argue that it's smarter to support the DA. But my issue is this: get the DA to 51%. If the DA earns 51% of the vote, then it can form coalitions with willing partners. That's what I'm talking about. But just you got to vote the ANC out. That's what's got to happen. But you're right. That's a better move. In Pretoria, in Shwana, or Shwana, Pretoria, Johannesburg, Nelson Mandela Bay, and Cape Town, the DA is within striking distance of taking all of those municipal areas outright with a 51% total in the vote. In fact, if there's an election and it's held in 2021, there's no way that they could possibly lose unless they screw it up because people are so angry and they're ready to try something else. But what I suggest is that the DA then form coalitions with minor parties to bring them into coalitions to show how coalition governments and the DA can rule. If the coalition partner turns out to be a turd and difficult to work with, you just dump the coalition partner. You still have a majority, and that's all you need to rule. So that's the focus they should do. That's been my position on it. Yane says, go to the ANC and complain about the ANC. The law of Africa is not a written law. I'm not sure where that came from. I don't think I said that. Nigel says, with all due respect, Chris, I think we've reached and crossed the line. Yeah, I think, yeah, a lot of people might be thinking that, Nigel. Yep. Alexander says, what cock does the U.S. Ambassador Saleh report to President Trump about the events and laws? Okay, well, first off, folks, let me explain something. Just so you're clear, U.S. ambassadors don't habitually talk to the President of the United States. Now, you got to understand, we have a few hundred ambassadors around the world and personal representatives of the President. And there's 365 days in a year. So even if he talked to every one of them each day, it would fill up 2/3 of the year. So a president talking to an ambassador is a rare event. There are some ambassadors, that's one of the reasons why we have political appointees who have juice with a particular president, and that's how they get in touch with them. But they have the right to call the president directly because they are the president's personal representative, whether they're a career foreign service officer or they are a political appointee. They have the right to do that. But that's kind of a card you don't want to burn very often. You know, okay, I'm calling the president. Well, you can only use that so many times unless an issue's going on, unless we're in the middle of a crisis or something like that. That's a different story. So Lana Marks probably has never talked to Donald Trump since she's become the ambassador in South Africa. I almost guarantee that. I'd be shocked if she has, because you remember his comments about farm murders were predated Lana Marks' arrival in South Africa. So yeah, I wouldn't lose any sleep over Lana Marks. I don't think she'll be in Pretoria beyond January, assuming Donald Trump is ready. Oh, Quentin is there. Okay, hang on. Let me get Quentin. Sorry, I didn't mean to keep you waiting, Quentin. I've been chatting for a little bit there. So hopefully Quentin is still around. Trying to get Quentin to come in. We have no president has a clue how to make money. We have, okay, there's Quentin. Okay, we'll get Quentin in here. All right. There's Quentin. His mic is connecting. Man, you look like a lock, or you look you're ready to play, man. You're play rugby there.
Yeah, I used to play hooker with.
Okay, that was my next. I was to say not really a lock, really a hooker. You're not tall enough to be a lock. Yeah, you look like a hooker.
No,
there you go. There you go. You got a Springbok jacket on. I love it.
No, I had to dress for the occasion. But I had to ask you. You never wear a Lions rugby jersey, so I'm a bit worried about where your loyalty lies.
No, my loyalty lies with VP, with Western Province, man, with the Stormers.
Yeah.
No, I don't have a Lions jersey. I had a Lions sweatshirt, which was my favorite pullover. It was amazing, and I wore it. I've got a photograph of me in Innsbruck wearing it from a couple years ago, and I had it in Ethiopia. When I left Ethiopia, I think it got 6-figure discount. Somebody walked with it when they were packing the boxes, but because I haven't been able to find it since I came back from Ethiopia, and I really miss it. That was, if I had that sweatshirt and I could find it, I would wear it. Nothing against the Lions. For years they were really sad. They just couldn't do anything. But then suddenly you could get them for almost nothing. Yeah, but now suddenly they've had a good team last few years. So I've been to Ellis Park and watched them play. I watched them play the Sharks there, and I watched them play a few other teams. But when you go to Ellis Park, you're kind of taking your life in your hands. You got to be really alert.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm just reading a comment from Gareth H. Saying, "Why am I sitting in their mother's garage?" Like I said earlier, I put the kids to bed.
Yeah.
So it's always safer to come sit out in the office. Now we work from home. Kids are homeschooling, so this is the only safe space where the kids won't really bother us, and we can actually do some work. So yeah, this is my office, not just my mom's garage. It's my garage.
Now, I think they're teasing you, Quentin, because the brew was in his garage, and he was calling in from his garage.
Serious?
Yeah. And it wasn't his mom's garage. They were just giving him a hard time because there was boxes and cock all over the place, So yeah, they were giving him a hard time. That's where it comes from, I think.
Yeah. Now, I wanted to share with you, I think if you listen to Cyril's speech, it's one of those typical Cyril ones. He's just blabbing along, trying to get the few people that probably still support him to feel a bit better about themselves. Mm-hmm. But he's got no balls. The only way to save this country is to just open everything. Let the people fend for themselves, not in a bad way. But I mean, if you tell people, listen, these are the things that can help you, they'll do it. They'll wear their masks if it helps. They'll social distance. They won't crowd. Okay, I think some people in South Africa will crowd. But I mean, you can't let the economy die just because some people get sick and don't listen to, advice. You also you don't know who to trust nowadays as to what advice to follow. But I mean, let people make their decision for themselves and don't let the draconian rules take over. Like you say, these commies, can't like them.
No,
and
it's. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No. I think the other thing that's also leading towards them trying to lock everything down is if you read the media, and I try not to read the media, but I'm a bit conflicted there because my wife works for one of the newspapers in South Africa, and so you try not to read what they're saying and try not to support them, but I mean then you're conflicted because it's part of the income for the family, so a difficult position to be in. But I mean, you read the media and they just blow smoke up the guy's backside.
Yep.
And that just emboldens them even more to lock everything down further and to follow their communistic tendencies.
Well, listen, one of the questions I have to ask, Quentin, all along I've wondered, are they that detached from reality? I mean, are they so in their white palaces that they can't see that it's not just Afrikaans-speaking white South Africans who are angry? It's Zulu, it's Xhosa, it's Ndebele, it's every South African from all ethnicities, all languages is so angry about what the government's doing. I mean, the tobacco ban. I don't smoke. I hate cigarettes, but 11 million South Africans smoke. I mean, would you? Okay, there's a couple arguments. I've said this in Africa. I said if you want to have an argument, say you're outside Africa and you want to talk in Africa about a topic you want to promote, go to Africa and promote homosexuality. See how far you get. You won't get very far. Here's another thing. Go to Africa and ban cigarettes and see how far you get. Not going to happen. They must be completely blind to the impact that they're having, or they just don't care. It's one of the two.
Yeah, they in their little bubbles, and you can say I was red pilled the year after Trump won the election. I was extremely against him, watching Trevor Noah and CNN all the time. And then my uncle, he now lives in Australia. Mm-hmm. If me and him had a conversation in 2016, I would have probably disowned him. And that's just how you almost feel brainwashed by what the media is telling you. They only show you those small little clips where Trump says, oh no, there's good people on both sides. And you think, listen, this guy really supports the white supremacists and he is evil. But then you go to the alternative media, which is now becoming my mainstream media, which is on YouTube.
And watch the full clip.
That's correct. And you see it in context. And you see how he disowns the guys saying that white supremacy and they're the best guys ever. And nobody else in the media will talk about that. They will hammer on the fact that he's a white supremacist because he supported the guys that stood up against then it wasn't Black Lives Matter, the Antifa guys.
Yeah.
And they said, oh no, he's white supremacist and he's supporting them. So
well, and now, Quentin, it's like he's supporting Confederates. No, he's not. He's not talking about that. And of course, these morons will take it so far that you can't deny that what they're doing is anti-state, anti-law and order. So when they paint over the statue of an abolitionist who devoted his entire life to helping people escape from slavery in the South, living in Philadelphia, devoted his entire income and fortune to educating and making Black Americans literate who were former slaves and helping them find work. When they paint KKK, which didn't exist in his lifetime, paint KKK in a statue and say he's a colonizer, they get away with it because he's an old white guy, right? But then they topple the statue of Frederick Douglass, and now they've lost their argument. So they moved on to the next lie about Donald Trump.
No, it's shocking, and that's why I say I think the same thing that's happening in the US. If the people in their echo chambers and their little bubbles, they only watch CNN and MSNBC. Over here, if you watch SABC, I mean, you don't get the news. If you ENCA, I always used to think they're a bit more objective until they came and they apologized to Cyril and NDZ for questioning their motives or whatever, and they set this whole massive apology. Then all these guys are in the same pockets. And I mean, from my wife working in the media, you hear the things that they explicitly told what you're not allowed to publish. And that makes it scary. You get people writing into the newspaper, and I mean, nobody reads newspapers anymore. So you're trying to get your reader base up to as many people as possible. Now, the people are actually speaking to the newspaper, telling them what they want to see, and then they're not allowed to publish what the readers are asking for. So, I mean, the newspaper is just going to fold. And there's been talks for the last couple of years that newspapers will fall in any case, no matter what you do. But here's a chance where they can survive a little bit longer. But with all these lockdowns, I mean, their biggest revenue is from advertising, and companies are not advertising.
Yeah.
So then it's just a ripple effect through the whole economy. And there was that one guy on Facebook, Vusi, I can't remember his name, but it's quite a viral clip. But there's a second one of him where he's speaking to one of his mates, and he's explaining how the ripple effects run through the whole economy.
Yep.
And I show that to some people, especially at the office, well, not at the office, but in our online conversations. And people are shocked. They don't really think that far to say, okay, it's just a shop that closed. So it's 100 people that don't get an income. Then you think, okay, it's the transport company, it's the supplier, it's the raw material manufacturer, it's the importers, everybody.
This is ZANU-PF. The reason they went after commercial farmers is they stolen every other sector of the economy. They destroyed the industrial base. They had stolen everything they get their hands on from 1980 until about 1994, 95. And then it became progressively worse because the economy was in a tailspin because of their corruption. So what they did is they were stealing money from the farming sector. And what they did is they had the grain marketing board. So if you had maize, you had to sell it to the grain marketing board, and they would buy it below market prices. Now, the farmers survived a bit longer because sometimes they made enough, even though it was below market prices, to pay off their loans, pay their salaries, pay their petrol, and keep their farms going. But eventually got so bad, the farmers had enough of it. They were hot full, and so they started supporting the movement for democratic change. And that's when Mugabe had enough, because he felt betrayed, because I was magnanimous, I let you stay here. Now, what I'm building up to here, Quentin, is that when the ZANU-PF went after commercial farms, I don't think they really realized how it was going to get out of control, and they couldn't control it. And they did control some of it. It got out of control. But the other piece they didn't think about is that farming is only 16% of our GDP. So what does it matter? Farmers buy carburetors that are made by Zimbabwean industrial firms. They buy tires manufactured in Zimbabwe. You drop one commercial farm, it affects the entire ripple effect of the economy. You can't take out 16% of an economy and destroy it or bring it to a standstill and still have a functioning economy. And so this is the impact. So when the Tourism Relief Fund denies money to minority businesses, let's be honest, the majority of businesses in the tourism sector are minority-owned businesses for historical reasons. Also because it's capital intensive to start a tourism project. You can't just have a bunch of Jeeps, to drive around in the bush and have well-paid tour guides and have land. You have to have money for that. So there's a reason. So the majority of businesses in tourism are minority-owned. When you deny that, on average, all minority firms in South Africa employ 2/3 of their employees are not colored, not Indian, not white. They're black South Africans. So why in God's green acre would you deny money to a minority-owned business because of the color of the skin of the owner or the group of owners? Because you're harming black South Africans. They don't give a squat. That's the problem. Or they're stupid. That's probably a bigger issue.
You're not allowed to say it's stupid. People take offense to that, and then they get triggered. We don't want, and then we haven't released any trigger warnings as yet.
Well, I better check my subscriber base. I might have lost somebody.
Very quickly. Now, I think Lynn earlier said we have to do something and it's up to us and no other country is going to help us. And now I get that same feeling, but it almost feels like farting into the wind. Nothing's going to help. And I try not to let that pessimistic side of me come through. Try to be positive and try, we've got a nice piece of, I won't call it a piece of land. We're living on a plot in the middle of town. So yes, we still have it fairly okay, but for how long? And so we're thinking of leaving the country. I said earlier to one of the people in your comments, I would love to get to America. And the lady said, no, but we have Donald Trump. You don't want to come here. And I tried to tell her, listen, anything is better than what we have here. And it's back to that slogan: is Trump is not that bad.
No. Listen, I don't like Trump at all, but Trump is actually good. I just wish he'd shut his mouth on Twitter. Then we'd be a lot better off. So it's the constant lies. And I saw that conversation. I didn't jump in on it because I think that was when Lynn was on the conversation. The lady was talking to you, and not to speak ill or positive of that lady in her comments, but the reality is that the Donald Trump that you know is not the man leading this country. That's the Donald Trump that the media present to you. And as you point out, Quentin, they're perfectly good people on both sides. And that was what was played, but not the entire story. And so when you listen to the whole thing, you see that he actually denounced the racist and the people on the right. He denounced and he called them out in the same speech in which they claim he supported them. And it runs across the board. So we saw a few months ago, Donald Trump. This is going to take a second to tell the story, but let me tell it very quickly. So what we had happen here, Quentin, was that the Obama administration, when it came in office, was given a list of countries that weren't complying with the biometric data. And we had concerns about terrorism from there because we couldn't prove the provenance, where these people came from, who they were. So you got a passport from, say, Kyrgyzstan. You don't know if that person's actually the name on the passport because there's no checks on it. So there was a list of 7 countries. They gave it to the Obama administration in November before he left office. They sat on it. They took no action. Trump comes in. He's briefed on this as he's coming off as part of the transition team. He says, no, we're not going to accept that. We can't take the risk. A terrorist is going to come here. So he bans it. And what is it called? A Muslim ban. It's a Muslim ban, which is utter lie. It's total cock, whatever you want to say for that word. It's utter bull. Because here's the reality. That ban didn't affect the largest Muslim country in the world, Indonesia, with 236 million Muslims. They could still come here anytime as long as they get a visa. It didn't affect South Africa. You have Muslims in South Africa. It didn't affect Europe, where tens of millions of Muslims live now. They could still come here. It affected countries that refused to comply with international norms for passports. And they turned it into this Muslim ban and made him out to be a racist. What a bunch of nonsense. And people actually still believe that nonsense to this day. So this year, in this, I got to wrap the story up here on that. So this year in February, I think it was, the Trump administration had enough of Nigeria and several other countries refusing to up their standards. So they said, listen, until you fix your passport standards and meet the biometric standards that are the international norm that every other country around the world is following, it has been for 15 years, we will no longer accept people who want to come here as immigrants. So that affected, I looked at the number of people who immigrated from Nigeria the previous year and from these other countries, and it was somewhere in the order of 35,000 people total migrated to America. By the way, they're leaving their countries because they want to become Americans. They don't love Kyrgyzstan. They don't love Kazakhstan. So the only people being harmed by this are people who want to come to America that we would be happy to take. But we're not going to accept them because we can't prove who they are. And we had this situation with a guy from, I think it was Kazakhstan or Kyrgyzstan, one of the places where he came here and he was a terrorist and he sponsored 25 family members. That's insane. I can't sponsor anybody. I can't sponsor you to come to America. But this guy who's not even American can sponsor 25 people to come from his homeland, and we have to accept them in our country. So that's what Trump was trying to fix. And so Nancy Pelosi, the same day, goes on her website, and I have stories of this, and I did a video about this. I linked on it. And she publishes a press release. She says, Donald Trump is a racist. This is capricious. And he is banning 350 million people from entering America. No, it's a lie. It's a lie. No. If you're a Nigerian and you want to come to America on business or to go to university, you go through the normal process. You get a visa just like any other Nigerian. It had no impact whatsoever. But she propagates it, and then all the happy little leftists and the media run out there and propagate the story. And they just repeat the same lie. And this is, so the lady that was commenting to you, the Donald Trump that you hear about is not, and look, I don't like Donald Trump. I got a beef with this guy. Where's my damn wall? Where's my wall? Anyway, no, but seriously, and I'm still mad about the United States Football League from 1983. He caused that league to collapse when he was the owner of the New Jersey Generals. I hold a grudge. I'm like an elephant. I got a long memory. I haven't forgotten about that.
That's long before my time.
Yeah.
But I wanted to tweet Patricia DeLille. Did you see our brilliant border fence that we built?
Oh, up on Zimbabwe.
That's correct.
Yeah, no, I don't think goats could. I think goats could get through that fence.
Yeah, and they do.
Yeah, they do.
So no, I wanted to tweet her picture of the photo, but our biggest problem here is that whole cancel culture.
Yeah.
And I was scared to use my real name and show my face and whatever, because yes, we work in a corporate South Africa. Mm-hmm. What I wanted to get back to earlier is when I got red-pilled, you almost didn't want to say anything or talk politics or talk about anything like that in the office. Because if you mention anything that's pro-America, that's good, that might be seen as, like we now said, there's some of the things that Trump does is actually brilliant. But if you mention anything positive about him, you are seen as immediately labeled as this racist and white supremacist, even here in South Africa.
No, I got you exactly. But look what happened this week to the CEO, or last week, the CEO from Goya, the largest Hispanic food producer in the United States, and immediately morons like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez go and call for a boycott.
No.
Now this is a woman that doesn't know what her heritage is. One day she's Hispanic, one day she's black. Now she apparently thinks she's black. Now there are black Hispanics, so let's be clear about that. Okay, but anyway.
And she's on the border there.
Well, she never claimed to be black Hispanic until Black Lives Matter. Then suddenly she's black too. Black like me.
Yeah.
Anyway.
No, and so we extremely scared to say these things. And that's why I say these echo chambers exist here in South Africa as well, especially in the media. You don't get the true reflection of what's happening in South Africa if you look at any media that's published in the mainstream. You do get some questions, but then you also get some of the YouTubers that take it too far, that only focuses on the negative stuff. And that then paints the country as this place that's a hellhole that's already burned down to bits. You can't walk in the street. Yes, you really can't walk in the street because it is dangerous.
Yeah.
But you probably have a 9 out of 10 chance that everything will be fine if you walk in the street. It's just if something bad happens, it is really bad. I mean, I've had a gun held against my head 3 times in the last 2 years just by driving into Johannesburg City and driving out again. And that's just for a cell phone.
Yeah.
So, yes, you give the phone. You just thankful. You get to that point where even like, I think it was Erica that said in the comments, we're so used to it by now. It was just another day. You don't even go to the police station. You just report your phone stolen, get a new one, and you continue.
Well, what you are is you become inured to this.
That's correct.
That's the word. I told this story about when I was at the Charles de Gaulle airport in Paris many years ago, about 20 years ago, and there were some Americans who were going to South Africa, and we were delayed. Our flight was delayed, and there were South Africans, just white South Africans, some Afrikaners, some 1 or 2 black South Africans, and a couple colored South Africans. And they asked me because they knew I was American, and they said, "So you've been to South Africa? What's it like?" I said, "No, it's great, but you got to be careful. You got to have that spidey sense and the hairs on the back of your neck."
Think.
You got to pay attention. You got to think about what you're doing. You can't just stumble about because then you become a target and a victim. I said, but if you keep your spidey sense, you can go there. But I got. And they're like, no, don't listen to him. He doesn't know what he's talking about. And then the next half hour, all these South Africans proceeded to just go, yeah, no. Well, this scar was when I got shot during a carjacking. They shot me right there. And then this is when these 3 guys tried to rape me. This woman says they tried to rape me, and I was able to get a rock and bash one of them, and I escaped. But they stabbed me in the leg. Like, what the hell? What's going on? And the point was that South Africans, even 20 years ago, had become so accustomed to this level of violence that you just live with it. And even though it's appalling, you just get through your day, that's scary. That has an impact on people's mental health.
The thing is, you either have to get used to it and live a normal life after that. Otherwise, you will go sit in your house, lock everything up and never trust anybody. So I think we're resilient enough to decide, listen, life has to go on. We have to make a living. You have to take your chances. I mean, you can die from cancer in the next year, or you can get hit by a bus as soon as you leave your property. And that's where faith comes in. I mean, when it's your time, it's your time. We've had some bad things happen to us, but yes, we survived, and we survived for a reason. But yeah, we're really thinking of moving over there. One of the things that I think I told you in one of the previous streams in the comments, I follow a lot of YouTubers that are homesteaders. That literally they sold everything, they moved, they bought a piece of land in North Carolina or wherever, and then they live off the land. Yes, it's tough, and they try to have side hustles where they sell soaps and knives and whatever, but it is possible over there. Here, where if you try and do that over here, you basically move from a bad situation to a worse one because you're putting your whole family's life at risk. If you move to a place that's a bit isolated or that has the space where you can actually grow something and keep livestock or something like that. So that's the plan that we have, that we're trying to work towards. But to get into the country, that's the other tricky one. And obviously that lottery is not on this year. Well,
no, it's not. It's been suspended. Hopefully they're going to do away with it. Not hopefully for South Africans' sake, but hopefully because it was a dumb way to take migrants. We're criticized for our immigration system by The Economist. America gets it wrong. They're so... And then the Canadians have a point system based on merit. If you have a PhD, $100 million in the bank, you can come here. And then the Economist like, Canada has the right approach. While they're castigating us, we take the people who can't even pick raspberries for a living and no education and no money and support them financially, among others. We also take very talented people. But so a couple things I want to say, Quentin, very quickly. So, oops, your camera went.
I'm still here. Just 1 second.
Okay, sure. Oh, that's fine. So Quentin Nagel is on the line with us, folks. He just silenced his mic. I think he's probably got somebody popping in the garage there. Anyway, so listen. So I want to tell Quentin, I said, the guy has, the fact that he's a hooker makes sense because he has like the coolest name. I mean, Nagel in German is nails. So Quentin Nails, our hooker. That's who this guy is, Quentin Nails. And that beard, man, I could see he was a hooker.
The beard is coming along, and then we cut the hair. This was the Corona cut.
Okay.
We don't have a mohawk.
But yeah, we shaved everything off, and it actually, well, looks dumb enough to keep it. That's how we roll.
Gotcha. So there's. Oh, I heard a lady's voice.
No, it's my wife. She just had to chirp in. She cut my hair. So
okay.
It depends on what people say. If it looks good, then she did it. If it doesn't look good, then somebody else did.
Well, I don't want to do a poll. If we did an informal poll about who's got the better hair, you or me, I'm probably going to be told to get the razor out.
Yeah, well, my wife can do a job on you that's going to look better. Hey? Definitely.
No. I'm going to go to my barber eventually here, but yeah, no, people got to remember that I spent 36 years in the Army. My hair is shorter than Quentin's there for a long time, so just having hair is you know, and you know, a lot of guys in the Army, what they do is they keep it, you know, high and tight, so it's on the scalp and just a little bit on top. Then they retire, like, I'm going to grow my hair, and they try to grow it and put it in a ponytail, and they all have male pattern baldness.
Yeah,
so it doesn't work out well. Now I don't have that problem, so I'm going to take advantage of what I can. Take advantage while I can. But let me get a few things in from the comments that people were saying, because it talks a little bit about something we were talking about earlier in the chat. So Clarissa said, I have faith that I'm raising my child well enough and with the right values so that he will not have to be affected by it because I'm a damn good mom, not because of government. Well, I like that approach, Clarissa. It is about parenting and about responsibility and inculcating the right values in your children. But when society's broken, someone's got to fix that as well. And I think Clarissa commented earlier or later that she's having a hard time because she's Afrikaans speaking, she's trying to do English and the chat's going too fast. But you're doing fine, Clarissa. So thank you very much. Or no, I'm sorry. Was it Lenora that said that? Maybe I was Lenora, not Clarissa. Lenora said that she's having trouble with the speed. Sorry about that. Lenora said to Clarissa, "Good stuff, Dolly Bird. I'm concerned for the impressionable kids that don't have good values like we do." I agree. I think that's a big issue, and we were kind of alluding to that a few minutes ago, Quentin. Shirley says that Donald Trump was supposed to step in and save us. Yes and no. Listen, I've worked for the federal government. Let me tell you, the deep state's real. I remember after 9/11, we had all these people working in the Defense Intelligence Agency. I arrived there in 2004. So I was at the National Security Agency. I was in Tunisia when 9/11 happened. Then shortly after that, went to the National Security Agency. A few years later, in 2004, I was working at the Defense Intelligence Agency. And I'll tell you, the number of civilian and even military analysts that worked around me are like, yeah, no, the Trump or the Bush administration cooked all the intelligence. They slanted it. This was all about oil. Yeah. And I'm like, okay. So little do they know or think that as an intelligence analyst, I can go read the products that these people actually wrote in 2000, 2001. Or not 2001, excuse me. Yeah, when we went to Iraq, 2003 is when we went in. So I went back and I'm reading the reports that they wrote recommending that we go in, that any idiot could see that they were trying to mass weapons of mass destruction. And almost every one of these analysts that was speaking bad about Bush, and I don't like Bush either, by the way, speaking bad about Bush, had all written things pushing this narrative that the neoconservatives wanted to go into Iraq. And now here they are a couple years later denying they were involved. The deep state's real, folks. And Donald Trump can't save us from the deep state. Only we can save ourselves from the deep state. Holding the FBI accountable, holding Department of Justice accountable, and holding even Donald Trump accountable. And then Alexander Dembers said the education system in South Africa is a major contribution to the downfall of racism in South Africa. Today, the youth don't care about color or gender. They let the youth run the country. I think I agree with some of that, but not all of it. And one more, and then I'll get you back, Quentin. Now Puerto Rico protesters want Ponce de Leon statue to be torn down. Colonizers to leave. Yeah. If the colonizers leave Puerto Rico, there'll be nobody left because all the Native Americans are gone. There are no Native Americans in Puerto Rico. So all the people there must leave.
Okay, don't worry. I just want to know what the fuck.
Quentin's blocking out his spouse, so that's okay. I was going to give him a chance to get in here.
No, it's fine. We're just having a conversation. I didn't tell her that I was going to come on.
Oh, okay.
So she's what the conversation's about because you're talking about a lot of American intelligence, and so she asked, well, "What am I into?"
I'm a journalist. So
I told them.
Yeah. Let's not get into it. Yeah.
Well, I'm also a journalist. I'm published on a number of different things, but also an academic as well. So I empathize with her. But it's the new media these days, as Quentin said. We can't trust the mainstream media; they're unreliable.
No, it's true.
Absolutely, I agree with that completely.
Now, thank you, Miss Noggle. But Gareth is being a provocateur. He's saying, "Get her on the camera." No, not going to ask her to come on the camera.
No, and the one thing that's very funny here is real name's Karen, and she says with all the memes of people people saying don't be a Karen, but it's actually don't be a Karen, and she's not a Karen. She's Karin.
No, but when I see Karin, it's in a German sense. It's spelled Karin, not En. So if I see Karin, I pronounce Karin.
Yeah. No, she's Karen.
Right.
Back here in South Africa, that's Karen.
Of course, yes.
But in America, everybody that's in America calls her Karen.
Of course,
but she's not a Karen, which is good. But Chris, it's been awesome chatting to you. It's 11:30 here at night,
Yeah, it's
and we've
late.
got school run tomorrow morning. But yeah, it's been great to be on your channel, and we'll probably chat again soon.
No, thanks a lot. I really appreciate calling. You were great on here. I really appreciate your feedback. Thanks for the view of your garage. Trying to sort out what kind of car you got, but I won't worry about it. I think those things hanging from the wall back there look like you had some kind of Chinese party there, but we'll ask about that on another time.
Well, we'll give a quick rundown. Every time we have a party, it's a 3 garage space, so we normally decorate the whole place, and the stuff that's on the ceiling we just leave.
Oh.
So it just adds and adds and adds. So yeah, this is now a party spot. We just need to get the braai in here.
Yeah, well, we all need a braai. I could go for one of those, but it's just oppressively hot here in the summertime, so I'm going to have to wait till a cool evening to do that.
Well, I'm sitting here freezing. It's 4 degrees here, so it's time to go inside.
Well, I would be at heaven at 4 degrees. Quentin, thanks a lot. Appreciate you tuning in. I'm going to get ready to shut down anyway, so have a good night. Thanks for being a subscriber and hanging with us.
Anytime. Have a good one.
All right. Okay, folks, that was Quentin Nagel coming to us from a undisclosed location in his garage. Just teasing about that. The brew would appreciate me calling it a garage instead of a garage. Anyway, folks, thank you so much for tuning in. Wow, we've kept a really good audience here tonight. If you're new to the channel, I hope you enjoyed this stream tonight. I hope that no one was set off by me starting the stream with saying, "Ek is hotful." I was a little animated there. I want to get people up and ready for the stream. So I hope that you enjoyed it. If it's your first time here, if you're not a subscriber, I ask you consider subscribing. I do live streams. I do also special features in which I have guests come on here. I've had Big Daddy Liberty on my channel. Ronaldo Hoz or Roman Kabanak has been on my channel. As well as Anata Kwaza. I've had small-scale farmers from Ghana, security experts talking about the Lake Chad Basin security situation. I've had Major General Johan Josta, who's into conservation, former South African Defense Force officer and National Defense Force officer. I've had Rene Kruger, a Boermeisie, talking about Afrikaner culture. So we've had a lot of folks on the channel. If you're not a subscriber, please consider subscribing to the channel. If you are a subscriber, thank you so much for that. And if you'd like to become a member and support the channel financially, it's very inexpensive. It's really about building a community. It's not about the money. So for instance, if you're in South Africa, the entry level is 10 Rand a month. So that's like 65 US cents. After YouTube takes their 30%, it's about 40 cents that comes the way of the channel. But thank you so much for that if you become a member. Anyway, can we get some likes? Can I get some likes, folks? I see 145 likes, and that's more than are actually watching at the moment. So I wonder if we can't get a few. Oh, there's another like. Let's see if we get another like. If you haven't liked the channel, please take a second and like the channel. Robin Hassan, it's Hassan, not Hassan. Robin Hassan says, Hassan says, subscribe after your stream with Germ. Well, thank you, Robin. I enjoyed that stream with Germ. We didn't even get to the topic at hand, did we? We just had a good conversation. So I'm waiting to hear back from him. So thank you so much for that. Really appreciate it. Please spread the word, folks, to your friends, your family, to your foes. People you don't like, if you want to trigger them, have them watch Chris Wyatt Africa. I like to treat people fairly on the channel. I hope everybody feels that way. I like to give as many people as possible a chance to get in the stream, whether it's in the chat, addressing your comments, and or into here. And I actually interview guests that you asked me to interview. So people wanted Big Daddy Liberty, they wanted Anata Kwaza, they wanted Johan Josta, they wanted a few other folks, and I got them on the channel. So I try to listen to everybody and help them out and get that stuff on the channel. Also, I didn't do it in this stream, but I also do free advertising for businesses in South Africa, trying to help folks survive the lockdown. Anyway, so thank you so much. I'm going to go ahead and close out. It's very late in South Africa and in Southern Africa, and it's late in the afternoon here on the East Coast of the U.S., so I'm going to take a break, get a little bit of exercise in. I want to thank you all so much for tuning in, and I'm going to close out the stream now with Giselle. I usually close my streams, begin and close my Stray Voltage with Giselle, but I'm still fighting with the software app that tells me that I don't have the license when I do have the license. But you know what? That's all right. We deserve to listen to Giselle tonight, so I'm going to close out with that. And I want to thank you all for tuning in. God bless and have a good night. And I'm going to close out with Giselle Plekken de Zone. If you don't know Giselle, you should check her out. May 8th, live stream on my channel. She did her album debut for her concert, Philins Mensa.